Could I have a roll call, please?
Jason Tron. Here. Is this on? Hello?
Can you have Mike please speak in so everyone can hear us?
I don't think my mic's working. Okay. Julie Simpson. Here. Jeff Bard. Here. Robin Cleek. Here. Wes Poland here. Matt Jacobs. Here. Sonali Patel.
Here. 7 present, none absent. Jeff is present by phone. Do anybody from the public wishes to comment? Keep going. The first presentation is by Elizabeth. This is Miss Elizabeth Hennessy from Raymond James. She's here to give us a financial update.
Great, thank you so much. Thanks for having me and thanks for letting me go first. So tonight I have an update on the refundings that we've talked about from time to time, which are ability to refund outstanding bonds for savings, as well as some non-referendum bonds to help pay for some of your capital projects. So our first section is a market update and a quick recap of our 10, 20, and 30-year municipal market data interest rates for AAA bonds. You can see, over the longer period since 2008, rates have come down quite a bit. So the message here is rates are still low, relatively. The next page shows you a 5-year history, and you can see that interest rates are within a range and have started to come up a little bit in this first quarter, mostly as a result of the Tax Reform Act. So, wanted to talk to you a little bit tonight about the currently outstanding debt service and the ability to issue some of those non-referendum bonds that we talked about a few months ago. So this is just where you are right now. The equalized assessed value went up 6.21 in 2016. 2017, I think we've got the numbers, but I don't have them in this chart. The CPI increase is 2.1 for 2018. That affects your non-referendum debt service extension base. So that allows you to issue some more of these non-referendum bonds, or helps. Then if we look at the two columns kind of in the middle, this is a current non-referendum principal and interest getting paid off, and here's the current referendum-approved debt service getting paid off, and then the total and the total tax rate. So here's a graphic. So the dark blue bars are the referendum debt service, and the lighter blue bars at the bottom are the non-referendum. So the cost of your Sullivan School project is estimated at about $12 million. So we're suggesting that the district consider at its May meeting a reimbursement resolution. It is a simple resolution that allows you to pay yourself back with an issuance of debt after you spend the proceeds. You don't have to, but it gives you the ability to pay yourself back with bond proceeds for expenditures for capital projects. So that is a really good flexibility for you, so that if you're able to go forward with the issuance of the small non-referendum bonds, you can then pay yourself back for some of these capital expenditures that you're considering this summer. In addition, we have some charts on the Series 2009 A and B bonds. The Series 2009 B bonds are non-referendum bonds payable from the debt service extension base. That's what DSEB stands for. And those are callable on January 1 of 2019. We can refund those on a tax-exempt basis within 90 days of that date. And there's some significant savings from refunding those bonds as well as from the 2009 A bonds. So the following options shows the refunding in the conjunction with a 1.5 million working cash bond issuance, so that the savings from the refunding gives you some room to issue those new bonds and pay them off quickly in just over 11 years. So here's a chart that shows this. Under the pink headings, you see the refunding of the Series 2009B bonds, and that saves 147,000, almost 150,000 net present value savings after costs, and that present value as a percent of the bonds refunded is over 3%. And in the public finance realm, we use that 3% as kind of the minimum savings you want to see on a refunding. Important to note, we're not stretching these bonds out any further, nor shortening them up. Their life is exactly the same as the currently outstanding bonds, just lower interest rates, so you're saving money. So that savings, which is about 60,000 or so, depending on what year, can then be used to help pay an issue of 1.5 million of working cash bonds. In prior meetings, we've looked at options for 1.5 million, we've looked at 3 million, we've looked at over 5 million, going out longer on that debt service extension base. This option is recommended because it goes out only a little bit 1 year past where your current debt expires. So it's not tying your hands for a long time in the future. You'll have the option to look at additional issuance, about 5 years down the road, payable non-referendum from this debt service extension base. So we've got cushion in the interest rates that we're using here, just to be conservative, of about 75 basis points. So you see the interest rates and you see the proceeds from the 1.5 million issue. I might just pause here and see if there's any questions on this.
Anybody? Jeff? Hey.
Did we lose Jeff? Oh.
Okay. Great. So the next page is a graphic of the non-referendum and refunding bonds. And so you see in the dark blue, that's existing debt after refunding. And in the lighter blue, it is the new 1.5 million of working cash bonds paid off from the DSEB, debt service extension base. And you can see it goes a little bit into 2029, but essentially the same final maturity. Next, we have the refunding of the Series 2009A referendum bonds. These are also callable January 1, 2019, and the savings are much larger in this option, over $1 million, or present value savings as a percent of refunded bonds up to 6.31%. Again, this is conservative because we have a cushion in our interest rates to offset any future risk. But what this does is it reduces the taxes on those referendum bonds. So obviously you can't issue any additional referendum bonds without referendum approval, so this savings is directly to the taxpayers in this case. So you can see it ranges to about $160,000 a year. It changes the tax rate on your debt, on your base, though, because your base is so big, it only changes it by 1.3 cents. So again, not going to make a dramatic impact to people's everyday taxes, but to the district, it is over $1 million of savings. So in order to enact these options, I have suggested a proposed financing schedule. So the first thing I would suggest is on your May 14th meeting, consider that reimbursement resolution. I believe there was one included in your board packet, so you can see. No?
The sample was not included.
Okay, sorry, the sample wasn't included. It's just a 2-page resolution. It's very straightforward, but it's required by the IRS if you want to, in fact, pay yourself back for some of the expenditures you're planning on incurring this summer for capital projects. So we would suggest doing that because that will allow you to use the 1.5 million if you proceed and authorize that to pay for some of the capital you have planned. So that then we would, in order to authorize the working cash bonds, there's several legal procedures that need to be followed. And then we would suggest on your January 25th board meeting, considering a resolution of intent to issue this $1.5 million of working cash bonds. That will allow the board to publish the notice in the local paper, beginning a 30-day petition period. If within those 30 days, 10% of the registered voters were to submit a petition to the district, that would require that $1.5 million to go to the voters for referendum. Also, at that June 25th meeting, we suggest the board president calling a public hearing on the issue for the July 23rd meeting. And that's a public hearing that just happens at the beginning of your meeting to take any comments from the public on the issue of that $1.5 million of bonds. Once that's completed and the petition period ends on July 27th, we go to the next page. We would then distribute the draft official statement and look at the board approving a parameters bond resolution authorizing the sale of not only that $1.5 million, but the refunding bond issues as well. And the reason why there's to be determined under that is because it depends on the district's timing, whether you're considering going to referendum or not, because it certainly would make sense to put all these bond issues together so you don't have separate issuance and separate costs associated with each issue. So assuming the district did not pursue a referendum in November, it would mean quite quickly after that we would get into the market with a sale and close in October. If the district did determine to go to referendum, we would suggest waiting till you find the results of that and then proceeding in November, December with the refunding, the limited bonds, the DSEB bonds, the $1.5 million, and maybe the first part of a referendum issue at that point.
I have a couple questions. First of all, thank you. This is much clearer than when I just saw it in my board packet. If we go ahead with something like a reimbursement resolution without having actually seen the draft of the resolution, are we limited as to what we can use those funds for?
Yes, it would be related to capital.
It just have to be capital. Okay.
Presuming you're going, now let me restate that. Presuming you're going to go ahead and issue those bonds for capital, the 1.5 million bonds, then the reimbursement resolution would be purely for capital, nothing else.
Okay. And then if we go ahead with extending any of these, if we do any of this debt service extension, how does that affect our rating, if at all?
I don't think your rating would be negatively affected because these bonds are relatively short, and as I mentioned, it leaves you flexibility for future issuance. It's a small amount, so your debt limit is larger. It's 45 million. I haven't even seen the new EAV on that, but it's higher than it was last year. So it doesn't take up any significant part of your debt limit. So I don't anticipate any negative impact from the 1.5 million.
Okay.
The refundings would also be considered credit positive because you're saving interest.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. Go to slide 7. The $73 million total debt service at the bottom there.
Yes.
That's pretty much the sum of everything that we currently would have to pay up through 2028.
Levy year.
73 million. So if we go with the proposed or the refunding, trying to come up with equivalent number, I'm assuming I have to add on page 10, 8.5 million for the DSEB bond.
The DSEB bond total principal and interest is $1,955,000.
I'm looking at debt services. So how much the district would have to I'm trying to compare apples to apples in terms of where we are today.
Yeah.
A total of 73 million. We add up from 2016 all the way up to when we're done.
Right.
So
So
I-
the 8.5 includes, this is only DSEB bonds here.
correct. So then I add that to the 65 million on page 12. In other words, you look at the graph, I'm trying to sum up all of the blue.
Sure.
Is that how I would come up with that number?
I believe so. I think
Mhm.
for me, an easier way to do it is to take that beginning number, that 73 million, subtract 129,770, which is the savings from the refunding, add the principal and interest on the 1.5 million, which is 1,955,000, and then add the savings or subtract the savings from the refunding of 1,138,050. So, and I think this is the comparison on starting on page 7 includes. It may include 2016 levy years, so I'm not sure if, so I think that's the most straightforward way to do it.
So,
And
yeah, I'm just trying to look at this graph. If I add up all of the blues together, I'm at 73 million. If I look at the graph on 11, which is the new way of the refund, what's that total? It seems to be close to 73 million, but yet the district also gets to benefit with a 1.5 million. So is that a good way to look at
yeah,
it?
that is a good way to look
In the
at it.
end, we're pretty much paying or having to levy for the same amount, the 73 million, but the district gets out of it an extra 1.5 million that we can use for capital improvements.
That's true, because the savings almost offsets that new debt service on the 1.5 million.
And additionally, the impact to the taxpayer, if we look on page 8 again, which is the current, somewhat, it increases. It's kind of like a balloon. It starts just under 8 million a year, goes up to over 10, and then it drops. You look at the bar graph, page 8. Yeah. We compare that. So what we're effectively are doing is we're leveling it out. We look at the graph on page 11. We're now way below 8 million for every year. It's much more. So the impact to the taxpayer is currently every year we have to increase the tax rate in order to levy the amount that we show on that first graph. This one is a little bit more level. Each year the increase is much less. Is that correct?
That's correct, because the bond principal that we're refunding is, is in the back, which is where the peak is that you pointed out in that first graph. So it does definitely flatten it. That's
So
where most of
the district benefits with having an extra $1.5 million to use, and the taxpayers' impact to their taxes are leveled out. They won't get this large increase as we currently
large.
see.
for sure.
It'll be much flatter and lower. I mean, not like you said, it's only 1 point something, but it's still lower.
Yeah.
Lower is better. Thank you.
Any more questions? If anybody thinks of anything, you can email Abe and then you can get the answers from Elizabeth. Thank you so much,
You're
Elizabeth.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
The next is presentation by
Terry Bugel.
Terry Bugela for CEDAW.
Like refine.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Carrie Nilsson Bugella, and I'm the principal at the John Power Center. I work for the Special Education District of Lake County. And thank you very much for having me here tonight. I don't think in the 14 years that I've been the principal that I've been invited, and so I'm very grateful for that.
Welcome.
I've been here, but I've not presented. In the audience, I see many faces of wonderful staff members who have served our students over the years, so thank you very much. But I just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk to you about the programs that are provided at Powers, the CEDAW programs. So hopefully I can work this thing. So here's contact information if you think of any questions. Later on, I'm the principal, and Dan Houlihan is our assistant principal. And the most important is my administrative assistant, Maritza Rosario. She pretty much runs the building, as you know. So just to kind of give you an overview of the programs that are available at Powers that are provided by CEDAW, there's really two programs in the building. There's the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program, and there's the LASSO 1 program. And LASSO stands for Language and Social Skills Opportunities. And obviously, DHH stands for Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And traditionally, Power Center was actually built in 1980 as an attachment to the option school that is no longer there to house the programs for deaf and hard of hearing students. So, we've kind of changed over the years. Our population dropped a little bit, so we had some room, and there was a need for students with autism to be supported in a program where they had more administrative support and we could support their social needs. So we had room, so we said, come on down. And both programs are pretty similar. The Deaf and Hard of Hearing program, we also have an itinerant option. District 73 is supported by contract services that are provided by CEDAW, and there's an itinerant that works with the district 3 days a week, serving students who are hard of hearing that can be in the regular mainstream that don't need as much support as the students at the Power Center need. And also with the LASSO program, there are also itinerant programs. And I do believe, I don't think District 73 has LASSO itinerant programs, support from CEDAW, but they do have a person probably that supports programs for students with autism. So, and then we also have a high school program for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program, and that's housed at Grace Lake North High School. Traditionally, those programs, probably for the past 8 years, we've been at Grace Lake, but we started out in District 73, and our students were in Libertyville High School District. We were at Libertyville High School, and then we were at Vernon Hills High School. But about 8 years ago, they ran out of space, and we found a home at Grace Lake North High School. So we're a little bit out of, it was always great that our kids grew up together and then went to high school together. But that is no longer the case. It still works out very well, though. So now I'm going to talk about each program separately and just kind of talk to you about the kinds of services that we provide and the types of students that are successful in our school. We provide services to children from age 3 to 22. CEDAW also has a transition program, as I hope you are aware, and some of our students do go to transition depending on their needs. Some of our students graduate from high school with a diploma. It really just depends on the needs of the students. So we have the early childhood through 8th grade at John Power Center. And those are self-contained classrooms that mainstream with District 73. The deaf and hard of hearing students mainstream at Town Line. The LASSO students mainstream at Elementary North. And then both programs mainstream at Middle North. And obviously our high school students are at Grace Lake North High School, and then we have the hearing itinerant services that service the 31 member districts of CEDAW. Some of the highlights of our program is there are teachers of the deaf and hard of hearing that understand the unique communication and language needs of students who are deaf and hard of hearing. There is a separate endorsement that is provided by the state of Illinois It's a special ed teacher who specializes in working with students who are deaf and hard of hearing. So our staff that teach those kids all have that endorsement. The learning environments are accessible to their communication and language needs. Many of our deaf students do not have enough hearing to be able to learn about their world incidentally. And so we have to provide visual communication, and we do that through using spoken English, American Sign Language, providing opportunities for the students to have direct communication with adults and peers. Our assistant principal himself is deaf. We have several deaf staff members. We have a deaf psychologist. We have several deaf teachers, many deaf paraprofessionals. And so they offer that opportunity for direct instruction and direct communication, but also they serve as role models for our students. One of the other benefits of the program is we have on-site audiological services. We have to make sure that our students are on. Some of our students wear cochlear implants, hearing aids, and we have the audiological department right there to make sure that they are always on. We provide a gamut of related services, audiology, speech and language. We have educational interpreters that work in the Hawthorne buildings. We have nursing. We have some students that have one-to-one nurses. We have psychology services, physical therapy, social work, OT. These are all services that are housed in our building. Adapted PEs. We have Spanish translation, orientation and mobility, vision itinerant, and autism itinerant services. We have several programs for our parents to be involved in, and programs that also serve our parents and support them with the needs of their students. We have a parent resource library for, there's a lot to learn. You have a child with special needs, there's a lot to learn, so we try to support their needs. We are supported by the Hawthorne PTO. We're very grateful for that. We have back to school and curriculum nights. We have parent-teacher conferences. We have family and community sign classes that are also supported by the PTO. We have a community resource fair. We do a transition fair. At the community resource fair, we invite community services for students who are deaf and hard of hearing and have autism so that parents can have access to those services. The Illinois Service Resource Center, we do parent cafes. The Illinois Service Resource Center is funded by the state of Illinois, and they provide support to students who are deaf and hard of hearing that have behavioral needs. So we do a regular parent cafe to support our parents. And then we do PBIS at Powers, and so we have a PBIS team that meets monthly, and parents are involved in that as well. Some characteristics of students that benefit from being in the deaf and hard of hearing program. They have limited access to learning language incidentally through spoken language. You may have several students within the districts that are served by that itinerant. The students that are at Powers are really, they need more support to provide services for their language needs. They have significant delays in language acquisition because they don't have access to it through their hearing, or they do have access to it, but it's limited. There's difficulty with social nuances of language and figurative language. If you think about a child who's 5 years old and comes to school, they actually have the language mastered. Our students don't have access to the language, so oftentimes they don't know the rules and they don't know the nuances of language, and that's what we're there to do, to teach them. They rely on an emphasis. Students rely on an emphasis of a visual approach to learning. That comes with the specialty that the teachers have on working with students who are deaf and hard of hearing. And sign language fosters language development more effectively. And there are visual supports that strengthen spoken language development. Some of the effects, according to ASHA, of hearing loss on development is it causes a delay in the development of expressive and receptive communication. Sometimes our kids are good foolers. They learn how to say yes, 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 but they really are not understanding the nuances, and we know that, and we can make sure that we provide a visual approach to learning language. The language deficit that they have causes learning problems that result in reduced academic achievement. We have many students that mainstream into the programs in Hawthorne, but we want to make sure that they're really ready to do that before they do. We provide academic instruction within our program for students at their grade level. It also causes communication difficulties that lead to social isolation and poor self-concept. The program that we have at Powers services all of Lake County, the 31 member districts of CEDAW, because it's a very low incidence disability in the deaf and hard of hearing program. District 73 has 3 students that are served at Powers. The rest of the 35 deaf and hard of hearing students come from all over Lake County, the CEDAW member districts. So it's important to remember that we can provide an appropriate program. They don't feel isolated, and they have peers, and they can communicate with their peers using sign language, and they can also communicate directly with their teachers. The hearing itinerant services that we provide are provided to students that are eligible to be mainstreamed in a general ed setting, but they have a hearing loss. There's assistance to teams that are serving students with hearing loss. Those teachers that are working with those students might need some tips on how to enhance the learning environment and make it better for those students. They provide direct service to students to help them with things like vocabulary development, taking care of their own equipment. They also do consultation services with teachers and staff, and they provide FM and hearing aid checks for students because we're legally responsible to do that. And we offer contracted and hourly services. Currently, District 73 has 3 contract days of service. We are also itinerants are responsible for child find, and that is where we are required to go out there and through hearing screenings, find students who have hearing loss and make sure that they have access to their education. The Language and Social Skills Opportunities Program, some of the students that are in that program are K through 8. They're at Powers. They mainstream into Hawthorne District 73. Typically, the students that we serve have high-functioning autism or Asperger's syndrome. You don't have to have autism to be in the program, but most of our students do have a diagnosis of autism, either medical or educational. Students do not, like I said, they focus on transitioning to the general ed setting. That's basically what our program is doing. So the students that we have don't have significant behavioral needs. We want to teach them the social skills they need so that they can be mainstreamed in a general ed setting. Some of the characteristics of students who benefit from the program is just an awkwardness in social communication, difficulty reading social behaviors, and these are typical, they kind of go along with autism, these characteristics. Difficulty understanding perspectives or seeing others' points of views, preference for social predictability, tendency towards specific intense interests that interfere with other aspects of life, difficulty with organizational skills, difficulties with self-regulation, including arousal, attention, affect, and students in the program do not typically display physically aggressive behaviors. They have a relative strength in cognitive and academic skills, and they have difficulty transitioning between activities. Our school is equipped with a sensory room to help provide some of that sensory regulation for our students with autism. We use the Michelle Garcia Winners social thinking curriculum in the LASSO program, where we teach organizational skills, whole body listening, expected versus unexpected behaviors, behavior regulation, matching the size of the problem to the size of the reaction, flexible versus rigid thinking, conversational skills, perspective taking, reading social cues and body language, thinking with your eyes. And this is language that we use in the program so that we are all speaking the same language and trying to teach kids social skills so that they can be successful in life. We also offer LASSO itinerant services to the 31 member districts in CEDAW, and they, kind of the same as the hearing itinerants, is they provide those specialized services to support students with autism. And that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
For the audiology department,
Mhm.
is there a full-time audiologist at Powers, or is it one that's shared for all the CEDAW facilities?
Well, we do have a full-time audiologist that's dedicated to the program.
Okay.
She does provide services to CEDAW. She does testing, audiological testing, but she is there almost every day. There may be times where she's out at a IEP meeting, but they are assigned to the program. There's actually more than one audiologist.
And they're based at the Power Center.
Yes.
Okay. And then for the students, so are all the students then mainstreamed? And the students that are mainstream, are they then pulled and then they go to the Power Center for their services? Is that how it works?
Yes. All the services are provided through CEDAW.
So how long, or I guess what percentage of the student's day then is spent at Town Line?
It really varies. We do have students most of our students are in the below 40% range, but we do have several students that are in that 40 to 79% range.
Okay.
But we don't have any students who are in the 80 or above range. And that's kind of how special ed is divided.
Okay.
But we do have students that mainstream for academics in the deaf and hard of hearing program and in the LASSO program. All of our students, for the most part, depending on their needs, are mainstream for related arts and PE and art and music. Those are related arts. Depends on if you're talking middle school or elementary school.
Anybody else?
Couple of quick questions.
Yes.
14 years, it's a long time. We've seen a lot of changes here in the district ourselves. What kind of changes have you seen in the services that you've provided to these students in the last 14 years? As well as looking forward, what kind of trends do you see going forward in providing these services?
Well, I think cochlear implants has really changed the services that we provide. And I feel like, because I supervise both the itinerant program and the program at Powers, many students are getting cochlear implants nowadays, and some of them are being implanted at a very young age, and some of them we don't ever see in the deaf program at Powers. They may be in our itinerant program and they're getting services there. So I feel like our itinerant program has increased, and the program at Powers is kind of, the number of students has decreased. I mean, there was a time where there was 80 or 90 students at Powers, and now we have 34 deaf and hard of hearing students, and then 13 high school students. So, I mean, the population has stayed pretty stable since I've been there. We probably saw the decrease before with the onset of cochlear implants. I feel like that has had a significant impact. And moving forward, I feel like, there are still students that are significantly impacted. Their hearing loss impacts them. Especially in a school where schools are more of noisy environments and it's more difficult to hear in noise. And I feel like there will always be students that need sign language to support their learning. So looking forward, I don't see a lot of changes there because we have students who get frustrated, who feel isolated, and they will always need sign language to support their learning.
Thanks.
Really interesting stuff. I didn't even realize the LASSO program existed at Powers. So thank you. It was formative and interesting.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Someone myself who struggled with hearing loss as a kid, I think the program's fantastic. I'm sure my parents would have been thrilled to have something like this back then. So thanks for coming out.
Well, thank you very much. And again, I'd like to thank the many staff members who are here tonight who just, they know our kids. They are always looking for what they can do to support them and help. And sometimes I feel like they're part of my staff too. So thank you.
Sweet.
Thank you.
So much. As the next item is recognition. I would like to recognize Mr. Collins for being chosen as the middle school principal of the year by the Lake Region for 2018. They have a breakfast for him
There's a
next
program.
week
Yeah.
somewhere. But congratulations, Mr. Collins, and we are extremely proud and grateful for you being here at our district, and extremely proud that you are our principal. And I'd also like to recognize Ms. Roffling for being the Teacher of the Month by 100.3 and Jewel Osco. She was nominated by a former student. So congratulations, Ms. Roffling, for being the teacher. And this was a former student of Ms. Roffling who recognizes or nominated her. So thank you. Next, we have, as usual, the fun press packet. I think they just look at the fact that we finished with 300 pages and they drop something on us more to go through it. They really, really.
It's not as thick this time.
Yeah, it is.
Trying to be positive.
So I'm just going to state some of the things. We'll review it again next time that we meet to see if anybody has any suggestions. So the first thing is policy. As I said, it's not a huge thing, so we're going to do the whole thing today, and then you guys can tell me what you know, if there is anything. So it's the press packet 97. This is the policy number 2:260. This is the uniform grievance procedure. In this, the policy has been updated because they included phrase by state or federal constitution or statute or board policy. It broadens the scope of the policy. We need to consult our attorney for including this phrase. So this is something that needs to be, we'll check with our legal counsel for that. The next is in the same policy, they have the sexual harassment has been added. This is the complaint under sexual harassment. The complaint should also be processed according to policy 5:20. This is essentially workplace harassment is prohibited. And for allegations against the superintendent, the board will mail its decision within 30 days. This is a note that's been added. And then they've added a whole bunch of policies which cross-reference the sexual harassment. This has been a big addition to most of the policies recently. It has been because of the workplace sexual harassment. It is the procedures of how to report it, what we need to do, and the procedures that we need to follow. The next policy is operational services. This is 4:40. This is for incurring debt. This language has been added to address the district's obligations to comply with federal securities law in connection to bond issues and create written procedures for issuance of the bonds. This reduces the potential future liabilities, and IRS recommends that we do it, that the written post-issuance compliance monitoring procedures be in place. We still need to consult with our attorney for this, so we'll do that. And outside professionals may be contracted to assist in the compliance, and that is a language that was added onto this 4:40. The next is again the workplace harassment 5:20. This is the school districts have to adopt a policy to prohibit sexual harassment. School districts are not required to train employees regarding workplace harassment, including sexual harassment. This was the footnote that they gave. Policy should include details for reporting. This has to be added. There is no ifs, ands, or buts regarding that. It just is.
Legal requirement.
It's a legal requirement. The next is 5:170. This is general personnel. This is the copyright. We have to consult our attorney to identify if the district is an online service provider under the DMCA Act, which is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So there are quite a few things that we need to consult with our attorneys for. The next is the 4:40. This is an administrative procedure for preparing and updating disclosures. This is for the post-issuance compliance of the bonds under federal. This isn't, but again, because this is a new procedure, we'll consult with our attorney to make sure that we are following everything that they have stated and we are in compliance with them. And the 5:20 exhibit, it is a resolution to prohibit sexual harassment, and this supersedes any prior versions that came out because that came out in the press number 96 and they updated it. So whatever is the update, this is the new one that we have to follow and disregard the one that we just spent time doing. But those are the ones we have. Almost some of them are new, some of them we need to check. I mean, we have to check legal counsel, so we'll get the recommendations by them at the next meeting. But in case you have read or you have any questions, please forward them to Nick so he can consult with the legal counsel and see if there's anything we need to take care of.
On those new ones, the one that you might want to read carefully is the copyright one. All the others are kind of straightforward, and you can see those, but we have many teachers in the audience. That actual new policy talks about who owns the intellectual property of something created for the school during school work. And so if you're creating something, a software program at home that you think can help in education, it's yours. If you create something during school on school premises using school materials, software stuff, it could actually be owned by the district. So there's a copyright piece there. At first, you might think, oh, that's not a big deal, but we actually have quite a few entrepreneurial type teachers that do create quite a bit. And so it's something that we want to make sure everybody's fully aware of and help. So that's the one I think is the most technical to talk to the attorney about when I was reviewing that. On the next, we have an existing policy, policy 7:30, attendance areas, student assignments, and intra-district transfers. This policy, yes.
Before we go on to that, quick question on the 520 that you just talked about.
Yes.
You said that this is required by law, a lot of the red stuff. Is it verbatim that we have to include them like that? Or can
Yes,
we make changes?
No, actually, when I read the policy, and it's on the pages 1 through 18 that Wendy's uploaded to the board packet, there is nothing that gives us any leeway to add a language or take away a language. It just is the way, whatever changes they've made, that's the way they want it gone. It doesn't say anywhere in the procedure that consult your attorney to see if this is an optional statement or anything of that sort.
Because there's a problem with one of the paragraphs. So
If there's a correction to a paragraph, and again, I'll ask the attorney on for the correction or the adjustment. Which paragraph is that?
this is part of policy 520, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Under investigation process, page 4 of 6.
Okay. Investigative process?
Yes. So that first paragraph says supervisors, building principals, or administrators who receive a report or complaint of harassment must promptly forward the report or complaint to the non-discrimination coordinator or a complaint manager. Supervisor, administrator who fails to promptly forward the report or complaint may be disciplined up to and including discharge. But what if the complaint is about the complaint manager or the non-discrimination coordinator? We don't want to force the... So there has to be an alternative path if the target of the complaint
Is the complaint manager?
is one of the
Well-
person that you're supposed to forward the report to.
I think if it's against the superintendent, it was the policy.
Yes,
it
so
was
that takes care of that
board.
one.
If
Right.
the principal receives a complaint against the administrator who is the complaint manager,
Yeah.
that principal would forward it to me because I'm not the complaint manager.
But we
The way-
have two complaint managers.
right,
So the
yes.
chances it would be against both at the same time
Right.
is,
We actually have two.
I mean, it should still say it properly, I
we
agree.
can clarify that.
But
So
we have Lynn and Art are both complaint managers.
I'll ask that question.
thank you.
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay, policy 7:30. 7:30 is our policy for attendance areas, and it states that, especially since we had the reorganization, that students are assigned by a particular attendance location where you live determines which school you go to. When I get these requests from parents, and sometimes we have parents that are staff members, when I get these requests, there are certain requirements within the policy that need to be met to grant that a request. And specifically in the policy, it states that it cannot be for family convenience or convenience, somewhere along those lines. And so previously I had reached out, we got a request from a staff member that had asked for a assignment of their child to the building in which they worked, and had reached out to the board and asked if they would like to have this conversation about this policy. And so the idea would be this policy could be adjusted, that we would hold the policy the same for our community, but you could put language or make language in there that would say staff members may request the assignment of their child to their building. You want specific that they're asking for it to go to their building, not to any building, but to their building, and specifically for the convenience to the staff member and their family. So that way, my child, let's say I'm at work at Middle North, and my child's assigned to Middle South. If I'd like to have them assigned to Middle North for convenience, transportation, whatever the case may be, currently I can't honor that request because it's for convenience. But is this something the board would like to extend as a consideration to staff members as a perk, in a way that you may, as a staff member, ask for your child to be assigned to your school, as long as it doesn't cause overcrowding or additional programming concerns. Those would still be in there, as a courtesy to the staff member. Understand that would be opposite of considerations for community members, but it would be something as a courtesy to the staff member to allow that request to occur. So that's why it's coming forward. As I do get these requests each year, and I probably get one a year from staff, and sometimes it's for reasons that can be allowed, and sometimes it's just canine courtesy. And so I'm bringing it forward to say, would you like to make that adjustment or consideration? And then I could bring well-crafted language for you at the next meeting to approve, but wanted to open it for discussion.
My initial instinct is, yes, I'm happy to change the language to make an allowance for teachers to have that extra, or staff members to have that extra perk.
Mm-hmm.
I think it affects such a small number, especially if you say you get one a year. Not really worried about it setting off any kind of, massive overcrowding issue or setting a bad precedent. I think there's lots of circumstances where employees get some kind of benefit that the rest of the public doesn't get, whether it's a discount or it's something, or, So I would be happy to make the allowance depending on the language that you can craft.
They would have to be residents. It's not,
Well, right.
I just want to make sure. Just
No,
like,
out of district.
I get requests regularly for
No.
folks that are outside the
Okay,
district.
sorry.
Our staff, so
No.
they must be residents and
Very
attending
clear.
our school.
They are already
Right.
residents, but it's
And they
building
are,
to building transfer into their
Right.
own building. Yes.
and it can be just simply for convenience for them if they would like. Makes it easier
Sure.
for their life. Okay.
And just to add that, middle school to middle school might not make that much of a difference, but with the varying start times throughout the district, I think it's a nice courtesy to extend.
Yeah.
Because it can really make a difference.
Yeah.
I see a big benefit. Can't think of any negative as to why not.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So if you speak into the microphone. Gotta get a little closer. So if those that have spoken, if you just confirm your thought, either positive or negative in the.
Sorry, Jeff. My thought was that I'm happy to make the allowance to grant that extra perk to staff members. I'm not concerned based upon the amount of requests Nick says he gets per year. I'm not too concerned with any kind of. Okay, sorry. Oh, sorry. Julie said something and Jason did, so I'll let them go.
I just said basically I'm fine with it, and with the varying start times, that it's a courtesy I'd like to extend. It could be helpful.
I just said I didn't see any downside or negative to allowing it that I know of, unless there's something else involved.
I'm in support.
Same here.
Jeff?
I'm opposed to it. I don't think the idea of the granting a so-called perk. We had a lot of issues with reorganization of the boundaries, people going to schools within the attendance boundary. I think another alternative that could be considered is the teacher, parents can request to move to a different building. I'm not in favor of letting students move for reasons other than what's in the current policy.
Okay. I'm in favor. I don't mind doing it as extending a courtesy to the staff, but I would definitely would want to have some sort of procedural or something other than the policy, also have it in place so that there is no, when the child is in your class or in your building, it is not overstepping on the bounds of this being a staff member into overstepping into the bounds or the workings of the other staff members and becoming an issue as to the workings in the school
That
itself.
happens already.
It does, but still.
That already happens. You already have kids going to the same school that the parents teach at. So
Yeah, but this is a request that we are going to honor. So I would like to make sure that it doesn't cause more nuisance to our admin staff to having to deal with something that could not that might have been avoided if there is a way that we can do it. I don't know if there is a way. I don't know if there is anything, but that is my only kind of a consideration that I would want to give the other staff members of that building, that we don't have
We could
issues because of that.
we can provide just some guidelines. If you're coming, please be very considerate of.
It's the same expectation as any
Right. It is.
teacher that
Right,
has
whether it's a
has their own
board member
child.
whose child's in
Right.
school or what, it's
The only
always
difference
the-
is that since you're granting a request, is,
Yeah, it's a different of a grant. So I'd like to make sure that we don't add more burden to the staff that's already trying to
I
do
agree.
that.
just a courtesy of.
Just a courtesy
Making sure.
on that respect that
Yeah,
it
It,
doesn't.
it can be done. I've lived through this personally. My children went to the same school as my wife. Daughter was in the 4th grade. My wife taught in 4th grade, and then when my daughter went to 6th grade, my wife went to 6th grade, and my daughter will need counseling probably because she thought she was following her. But you had dad, and your dad's the superintendent, and you really get them all.
Oh my
But
God.
there is a piece of boundaries and understanding your colleagues. You have access beyond most parents, so you just have to be respectful of that, and we can make sure that there's a brief conversation to make sure with anybody that has their children in the building. So I will work on some language. I'll try to send it out to you before the meeting, so if you have suggested changes, but we'll work on making that adjustment for the next board meeting then.
The next item is the president's report. There's a couple of things that I want to discuss in this, other than the time that I do talk anyway. Is this has to do with the IASB, and the couple of things that were on the thing is Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. This is every couple years or every 4 years? Do we do the school board governance recognition thing?
Every 2 years.
Yeah, it's over every 2 year. So the application for that is that we are a good school board is due for August 1st. It does require a decent amount of work, so I wanted to know if this is something we are interested in doing, and so that is something I need to know.
Is it something, can the materials, are they online that I can review to see like what's required?
I think they should be, or I can give you, I got an application packet, so I can just give it to you and to see what it is, and you can let me know. But it's not like something, but it's something that came, so I thought we should discuss it because it's going to take some time to fill out all this paperwork that's needed for it. So, but you can look at it and then let me know by next
We
meeting.
can scan it and send it out to everyone.
Yeah, to see if
This is where the board gets recognized for doing training, going to district and division meetings and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
and be present, because every time you go to an IASB or you sign up for a workshop or you do any of the free webinars that nowadays that they put up, it counts towards those points that you are actively learning and trying to become a better board member and a better board. So it goes towards all of that. So that is part of it. There's some questions that you have to answer, is like, how do you connect with your community? How do you, about your procedures of communication, of your mission, vision, goals, and, how do you do that? Your policy reviews, are you on top of them? We are. And then monitoring and just different things those kind of things. But I'll send it out. We'll make a photocopy and or send it out if it's electronically available, so people can know if they want to do it for next time.
Question.
Yeah.
What does it get us besides a pat on the back? Like, do we get a discount on future workshops? Is there any?
No.
Do we get an extra ribbon for our triple I badge?
You get a pin. I have a pin from
Yeah,
Jeff.
we got last.
Yeah, we did it. So we get a pin. But that's about it.
Because I would like to participate in workshops or trainings that are meaningful and helpful to us. Don't want to necessarily have to hit some kind of
No, I mean,
dollars spent threshold in order to be eligible for this award, just to get some pat on the back.
No, I don't think that is the way it is. It's just that, it goes towards it. Like, if you have been attending things, I mean, they put out so many of them that,
I know.
Then if have you been attending, then it counts towards it. I don't think they expect you to attend it to get the award, but it is an application process that you have to do. But other than getting a pin and saying that you do maintain continuing education, I don't think there's anything else to it.
Okay.
It's a plaque and recognition, but it's more than just attending IASP functions. It's things like, do you do community relations activities? Do you have goals and do you follow, your strategic plan and what you do and those kinds of things. So it's an overall recognition of board governance, not really tied specifically to attending IASP workshops.
Okay, thank you.
And the next question I had is, which is going to take some thinking, but we have a delegation which Julie was kind enough to attend this time, where you have a resolution or you pass do a resolution for it. If there's anything that you think that amongst IASB, if there's a resolution that you would like to put forward, we need to have a thought of it. Jeff had mentioned one, that's the only one I remember in the recent months, this was regarding during one of our construction or phrases that, we had the documents prepared by DLR and stuff, and then IASB still made us hire a structural engineer or something for the documents. And so this was like, we had to pay an extra fee when it was already taken care of by DLR itself. So it was like, they forced us to so it just seemed that there was, what do you call it, more bureaucracy or more oversight, which landed up having us to spend more money than was actually needed. So that was one of the resolutions. Jeff had said that, maybe we can put a resolution that if you already have done all the architectural form and they have signed off on this, then do we really need to keep doing these oversight bureaucratic paperwork because it costs money to do it. So that was one of them. If there's anything else that you guys can think of, if there's anything else, I'll draft it. We can send it in. I mean, there's a whole procedure to it, but at least if there's something else that anybody can think. That's a June deadline. This is the only one that I can remember, and we'll pull it up and we'll try to. But if there's anything else anybody can think of or anything that you've experienced, please let me know and we can see if, we can do something about it. Not that, at least send it in, if nothing else. Jeff, anything else? Jeff?
No.
Thank you. The next is the kindergarten building update.
Yes, I actually have two portions of this. One is the Planning and Zoning Commission. We're preparing to go back. I believe they told me it's going to be in the first week and a half of May. Go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We've received some questions back. The architectural team, we have some questions to answer for them. Also, part of that is the ongoing conversation between the village, the park district, the schools, and the library on the traffic patterns. I can give you some information. We met with the Victory Center, and they had some questions about the traffic with a Phillip Road access. And so we're looking at other options to see if there's a possible different way. The shorter way is good because it's less road to create and it's less expensive. So talked to the village today. They're still trying to work on a follow-up meeting with the Victory Center on possible alternate routes that we're looking at. But we are going through the preparation for going back to that meeting and answering questions and clarifying some items for them. I Can I jump down to the
Yeah.
construction bid?
Yeah, definitely.
If you allow me, I'm jumping down to the number 3, the kindergarten building construction bid documents. We did have some, and Abe, feel free to jump in here, but we did have some of the bids come back last week for an opening. We opened 19 of 23 trade packages with a total of 118 bids submitted, currently conducting a scope review with each of the low contractors. That's what LAMP does. Remaining trade packages will be bid on 417. That's building concrete, precast concrete, and structural steel and site concrete. And the preliminary bid results will be provided on 418 with a follow-up information to be provided by 420. So it's really, we've had bid packet openings in 2 phases. We have another one coming up on the 17th, and then LAMP and Abe and I will review those and then start putting together a report. Remember, the bid process is where you really actually find out how much a building will cost. You can estimate, do all the other stuff, but we're hoping that any onset of trade wars or things won't impact steel and concrete and things of that sort. So those are the 2 reports, and we'll give you some more information when we get
When do we
those.
close them?
When we close the
Like the bids, like they're all submitted, or do we are
The
those the
17th is the second round for the items that were listed on there, and then from there we'll review them and work with the lowest bidders to confirm that's the quality.
No, but is there a date, like till, like, even when we open it, like, is there a date, like within a certain time they have to submit it, or no? It's
The bid bond predicates 45 days they have to hold their costs or sign the agreement. So it's a 45-day.
45 days from when we open our bids, kind of.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And you have to approve the project.
No, okay, I know that. Okay, since we are in construction phases of things, summer work.
Yes, let me go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Mr. Christensen's here. He's going to help present some of the summer work items, or no action at this point. We're just pointing out, showing you where some of the things that we think we need to be done. Hope we come back for formal approval. Yes.
I am going to project it.
So while that queues up, I'll just give a little bit of a historical perspective here, kind of a backdrop for our summer work and as it relates to repairs. So as a district, we have about $96 million in assets related to our buildings and the equipment in those buildings. So historically, the district has done a very good job about managing those repair costs. And we rely on outside services primarily to do that. So in 2006 and 7, we had Leggett Architects perform a reserve study for us. And that work has been ongoing since then. And then in 2016 and 17, DLR did our facility condition assessment. And then we've got other things that are just district identified items. And those 3 sources then have all been combined and created kind of a master working capital list for us, which totals approximately $5.8 million. Now that spend, we kind of have projected over 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So it's always kind of a working document depending on what's going on in the district, what new needs come up. It's meant to be fluid and change as we go. So for this year, we've really identified just 12 projects. And our total spend this year, we're looking at about $273,000 for the summer.
I thought I had it up, Dimitri, previously, and now it's fallen off. So it's the front DO. Thank you. Very good. So within this district, just as an FYI, we have $96 million in overall building and equipment assets. And sometimes those building components and the equipment requires maintenance, repairs, or replacement. And we're going to review some of the items for this summer. Unlike previous summers, what's going to be done differently is we're going to avoid architectural fees as well as general contractor overhead and profit by internally managing our subcontractors. And go ahead, Mike, we can go ahead and proceed with the overview here.
So this year, these are the areas that we're targeting. Some paving work, painting, some exterior lighting upgrades, a scissor lift replacement, boiler replacement, some stair treads and flooring projects. And then we have various building water leaks, a hot water heater replacement, and then some ceiling track repair. So we'll have a very busy summer internally, but these are the things that we've identified as projects for this summer. And there's the cost association with each one that we're looking at for this summer. The one in particular, the LED exterior lights, we currently spend, the last 4 years, we've spent about $10,000 a year on just repairs to our existing light poles. So this one, we're looking at some grant programs through ComEd and some other sources that we can change those old metal halide lights out and upgrade to LED fixtures.
We'll go through each one at a time and share some pictures as well, just to iterate that these are more need-based projects versus there's nothing aesthetic about any of these.
Correct. So across the district, we've got various areas, and these are just a couple of shots where we've had pavement that's completely broken down. And, you know, we've got to take and make continuous repairs every year to our pavement in order to maintain that asset. So the longer that we let that go, the more freeze thaw you have, the more damage that occurs over time. And then at the far right, you just see that's a displaced drain cover. We actually had a car drop a front wheel in that. So we've got some areas across the district that we need to do some work on. And we're looking at about $40,000 for this summer.
Alligatoring, it's when the pavement looks like an alligator. Water will permeate through those cracks, freeze, and then pop. If we can do a mill and overlay proactively, that's going to avoid a full depth repair. And the cost factor is a multiplier of 4 to 5 at that point when you're trying to recreate from your base CA6 to the base course and surface course. If you can timely replace that surface course, you can avoid the larger cost of full depth repair.
Where, what facilities are these, is this damage?
Those particular pictures, one of them is right out in front here, the district office. Another one is back behind Aspen.
Is there another area you had in mind?
I was just curious.
Okay.
I just don't want to drop my car wheel. In
She's avoiding.
So I was
like
just
a town line. That's all I need to know.
It didn't happen during car line or something.
We're going to make an app. Where are the potholes in the parking lot?
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So each summer, we also utilize some seasonal helpers across the district. And this summer, we're going to take a little bit different approach. We're going to have those folks address some exterior painting needs. And as you kind of travel around the district, you see these kind of looks, very faded doors. It's very unsightly, but it does cause damage beyond just looking bad. As those metals break down, you start getting into areas then that you have to look at replacements. So this is just maintaining those assets. And this is the one I mentioned earlier, the LED lighting upgrade. So currently, we have metal halide fixtures everywhere. Those are the lights that look kind of yellow. They draw a huge amount of power. LEDs draw minimal power. It's a better quality light, much longer life. You don't have the great big expensive ballast associated with them. You can do different drivers with them. So it's a very, very low cost to operate, and it's a very low cost to maintain.
Michael, before you go up, you just mentioned that we could get some grants or some kind of relief from ComEd for being, energy efficient
Correct.
and stuff. Is that accounted for in that thing you've given, or
It is
no?
not.
It's not.
It is
so,
not.
So this is all on us right now, and if we get a relief, that price
That's
will just
correct.
drop. Okay.
So basically in the district, we currently have 2 lifts, and we utilize those lifts in areas like the gyms if we have to change light bulbs or anything like that. This is one of the older ones. So those lifts have to have an annual inspection performed on them by an outside service to certify them. This one did not pass this year. This is an old airlift, and when you went between the second and third stage, it would jump really bad. Now we do have guys that are in harnesses and they're all buckled in, but it's a pretty scary ride when you're going up. So
Sounds like it.
Fundraiser, we'll give rides. Don't go to Six Flags, come here.
Seriously.
So Middle North, we've got a boiler that's been inoperable now for a little bit. And basically the burner components in that, the burner tubes, they're warping and they're leaking. That's the primary guts of the boiler. And to replace those, it's really cost prohibitive to do that. You're looking at a new boiler replacement. And then stair treads, if you look at like that second stair up where the nosing pieces broke off, that becomes a really sharp edge. So as kids are walking up and down those stairs, you have the opportunity, you could damage shoes for sure, but if kids have any open-toed type shoes on, you could definitely get a pretty good slice on the top of your foot from those. So we want to take and get those taken off and repair those stair nosings and put on it looks like the wrong type was used. There's two different types of stair nosings. One's a low profile. The other one is a higher depth stair tread. And if you look at those stair treads and where it's broke at, that broken line is really the depth of the pan. And the stair tread nosing extends well below that. So I think the wrong size nosings were used on a few of those, and we'll take those off and replace them. This is some of the leaking areas that we were talking about with the window glazing panels. We need to get a glazer in for these. This isn't anything that we would look at internally, but the glazing around the windows is broken down, and now we've got some leaking areas. That will eventually over time break down your wall structure and your other interior components of the building. So we want to make sure that those are addressed and keep our building envelope solid. This is just a quick example of some interior stuff that we want to have our seasonal helpers do. It'd be really nice if we went all summer with no rain, but the reality of it is we're going to have rain days, and these are the type of projects we'll move them in on. We'll maintain those interior building assets as well, and keep the inside of our buildings in good shape as well. So this is a hot water heater at Elementary South. The inner water tank component on it is leaking water. That's not anything that can be repaired. You can't put a patch on it. So this is a straight up replacement. This unit is currently out of service. It's not running, but that's a pretty sizable water heater for that building that needs to be replaced. And then just more water damage. You can see the effects of it on the left-hand side in that upper corner. That it looks like the paint's kind of melting away from the wall. So it's my understanding we fixed that leak. Now I haven't seen signs of it over the winter. We'll see come spring when the rains really come. But these are areas that we'll continue to address with our internal summer folks this year. And then at Elementary North, we've got a ceiling wall track section that's bad, and we need to have that fixed. We need to get somebody in that deals with those tracks to repair that. And the last piece is flooring. So this is just sheet good flooring. We've got several areas within that Elementary North multipurpose area that big hunks of the floor are missing. So we'll cut out and we'll patch sections in without having to redo the whole room. Will we see a seam? Sure, we'll see a seam, but it'll save the floor for longer term. And that's it for the summer.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
For the scissor lift that we will be replacing, what happens to the old one?
It will be trash. It is trash. It's already out of service.
Right. Okay. So is that something that we just, send to get scrapped, or does the company that we're buying the new one from, do they take it?
They won't take it on trade.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a safe unit. They won't certify it. So it's really got no trade value other than scrap.
Okay. And then but the district will get that money. We'll take care of that.
Yes.
Okay.
This will be done this summer?
Correct.
Under what budget? This year's budget or next year's budget?
The cycle we're on, it'd be the following year's budget, so it'd be the 2018-19 budget.
And it's in that budget?
Yes, it's being developed. But this is part of it. This is part of the process.
And I'd like to thank both of them. Actually, this item was scheduled for the next board meeting, and I put it on this one. Going a little brain dead there and forgot. So they worked very quickly, and I appreciate them putting the report together so quickly to make sure coming very in depth and very extensive looking at what we need to do. So thank you to both of them for doing a 2 weeks sooner than you expected. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask a couple questions? Sure. Sorry. How many gallons is that hot water heater?
119.
Okay. And then, is there any such thing as renting those lifts when we need them or at designated times versus purchasing?
There definitely is a lift rental that you can do. Typically, for a month rental on any lift, it's going to be about $1,200 to $1,500, depending on the size of the lift.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on, you break it down from there. Is it a week? Is it a day? Just to get the lift over is probably a $300 charge to get it here and back. So if we're going to rent them, we want to really optimize that time.
Right.
Which, like for the LED poles, we would definitely rent a Genie Boom for that.
Sure.
But interior stuff, it's a little harder during the school time to rent a lift with the PE schedules and stuff and coordinate that. It definitely can be done. But it's also much more convenient to have it there when they need those lights taken care of.
And how long does a typical lift last if we purchase?
They don't get a huge amount of use. I'm guessing that lift's well over 25 years old. So I would say you should get that kind of life cycle.
Okay. And thank you for doing the pictures, because it is really helpful. When I first saw that list, I'm like, what? But that's helpful.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. It really gives us tells Wes the roads she needs to avoid.
Thank you.
Thank you. The survey report, Robin.
Yes. 1 second, I gotta go back to where I was. Okay. So, the week before spring break, there were 2 different surveys sent out. One link was sent out to administrators that had not taken the Human X survey in the fall. A separate link was sent out to other staff members that were from a few different departments and support staff that had not participated in Human X in the fall. Those stayed open through April 6th. And I will share some results. Some feedback we got is that the board meetings are too long, so I'm going to try to go really quickly. Okay, I'll do the admin survey feedback first. This was a 21-question survey. The responses could be strongly disagree, disagree, neither agree nor disagree, agree, strongly agree, or cannot answer or don't want to answer. Each question had a place for comments, and then there was a chance for comments at the end. This was done completely anonymously. It was set up so that each device could only answer once. There's really no way to control for somebody answering multiple times from multiple devices. It's just the limitations of SurveyMonkey. But of the 22 employees that link was sent to, we received 10 responses, so that's about a 45% response rate. It's a small invite population, so there's no great way to calculate a confidence interval, but obviously the items that had a really clear majority response will be more reliable. A lot of this feedback is really directional, and before I go into the nitty-gritty, I want to thank everybody who took the survey. Unfortunately, we had to discard a few of the answers somewhere along the line. There was some unauthorized modification made, and the link was sent out again with the request that somebody redo it if they are so in the mood for. So between agree and strongly agree, the following items had 100% of the people reporting that they agree or strongly agree. That would be receiving praise or recognition from Nick when doing a good job, understanding how their work contributes to the success of the district. 100% reported at least agreeing or strongly agreeing that Nick demonstrates strong leadership skills, that they can offer feedback without fear of repercussion. They can feel comfortable taking complaints or concerns to HR and feel personally driven to help the district succeed and will go beyond expectations to do so. 90% said they agree or strongly agree that they get to participate in their personal goal setting process, have fair and timely evaluations, receive useful and constructive feedback from Nick, have the resources they need to do their job well, find the professional development a worthwhile use of their time, believe Nick treats all of his employees fairly, and are satisfied with their job. Almost 90% felt the curriculum met the needs of all subgroups, and some helpful comments were attached to several of these items. About 80% said information and knowledge are shared openly within the district. The responses were somewhat split when asked if their workload is reasonable. The responses were kind of all over the place when asked if their staff appreciates being part of the curriculum development process. And similarly, there were a lot of varied responses when asked if the district fosters a sense of teamwork / collaboration, cooperation. The areas of concern. By the way, I meant to say, and I forgot, none of this is going to be used for any evaluation for anybody. This is just to inform us going forward from a directional standpoint and possibly goal writing standpoint. Areas of concern. 100% said they disagree or strongly disagree when asked if they receive fair and adequate compensation. Only about 60% felt the superintendent effectively communicates that administrators' needs to the board. Full 40% couldn't answer that particular item, so that might have been a flaw with the way the question was asked. Let's see. Sorry, excuse me. Eventually I'm going to recover from this. 70% said they would not feel comfortable taking their problems or concerns to the board if need be, although the comments would indicate that's largely a function of strongly believing in the chain of command, and that hardly ever involves the board. As far as the comments go, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty, mainly because we promised that those comments would remain confidential. So in case anybody's concerned that their comment might identify who they are, which they didn't, but I sort of didn't want to give the actual specifics of those comments since we promised those would remain confidential. But just rest assured, the board has read all of the comments that was made available to all 7 of us. In a general addressing of the comments, I can say things like compensation and concerns with that can't be discussed in open session anyway. The concerns about board conduct, dynamics, and behavior will be addressed at an upcoming IASB board peer review meeting in May. And let's see, is there anything else I can address that wasn't a specific issue? No. Speaking for myself and seeing some of the comments, I will say I can only speak for myself, but I do recognize that there is an ever-increasing workload. Unfortunately, I think some of that naturally comes with the growth within the district, but I do definitely recognize that. So if the perception has been that we are not aware that there's a lot of extra hours being put in, I do recognize that, and it is very much appreciated. Okay, so the survey for the other support staff and other departments that didn't participate in HumanX. The same rating scale as the admin survey, so it went from strongly disagree to strongly agree with 5 steps in the middle. Again, they could skip a question. They could place a comment on each question, and the last question out of 18 questions asked was just the chance to give feedback about anything. A total of 26 employees were invited to take this survey. We received 13 responses, so that's 50%. Again, the invite size is really too small to get a real confidence interval, but can be used for direction and to inform us for goals. Will not be used in anybody's review or evaluation. And again, I'm going to keep the actual comments confidential because we promised that that's what would occur. So the responses to these questions were much more varied, which I'm guessing is largely because they were from several different departments, so they're answering to different supervisors and having different experiences. But there were some questions that had responses that sort of jumped out as a majority, and those were as follows. Nearly 80% said the amount of work they're asked to do is reasonable. They understand how their work contributes to the district's overall success, and they feel driven to help the district succeed and will go beyond expectations to do so. About 60% said they agree or strongly agree when asked if their evaluation is fair and appropriate and whether they're satisfied with their job. Slightly more than half think they receive the training they need to do their job well, have the resources they need to do their job well, and that the district understands its students' needs. Their supervisor treats all of his or her employees fairly, and they can disagree with their supervisor or offer feedback without fear of repercussion. The responses that were quite varied were to the following questions. Do they participate in personal goal setting? Receive timely and constructive feedback from their supervisor? Receive salary and benefits that are competitive with similar jobs elsewhere? Does the district foster a sense of teamwork, collaboration, and cooperation? Does the superintendent demonstrate strong leadership skills? And are people held accountable for achieving their goals and meeting expectations? This one had kind of one area of concern that jumped out. More than 70% said they disagree or strongly disagree when asked if information and knowledge are shared openly within the district. Again, we won't discuss the comments dealing with compensation openly in an open meeting. The board will be discussing any comments related to its conduct or behavior at the board peer review, as I mentioned in May. And again, I would like to thank everybody, and I think I can speak on behalf of the board when I say thank you to everybody who took their time to take the survey, write the comments, offer the feedback. Every response is informative, whether it was something that was supported by the majority of the data and comments or not. Even if it's a one-off, it's still informative and something that we can use going forward as we think about our goals and mission here. So if anybody has anything to add, feel free. That's my summary, though.
Thank you very much for taking it, and we've already want to make sure that, you know, going in September, October, if we can incorporate everybody from our organization into the HumanX, so we don't have to do the, you know, the non-expert way of doing a, you know, a survey. So, you know, Lynn takes care of the HumanX for us, so she's going to look into it and see, you know, if there's any modifications or stuff needed for that, or whatever else is needed to make sure that that everybody is included in the surveys going forward. The next, the board agenda software systems.
Yes, the board had suggested, I forget which board member had suggested a potential.
That was me.
Okay, a potential new board type of document for board agendas. Done a little research, just really reporting to you. There are two types that seem to be prominent around the area. That's board docs and board book. Reviewing the costs for you. Have some information within your packet to review. I'll bring it back at the next board meeting and kind of review some of the costs. I am trying to verify. One says it's a web-based and one says it's a cloud-based. I think technically that's the same thing because the cloud's in the web, the web's in the cloud, but I want to make sure that they're not trying to indicate some different technical aspect. You don't have to buy equipment with either because of the way they're set up. We also in the information provided to you are some statements from some local school district folks that have used them and what they like. Both of them are good. Both of them will work well. There is a difference in cost. I'm looking at getting some quotes and why there would be a difference in that cost. But I will bring this back for further discussion in that board meeting. It's not something we transition to right now. Probably transition at the end of the year going forward because there would be some training on pieces of that sort. But I believe one of the initial requests on it was to help with some transparency with the documents and stuff. Both seem to answer that question. Now it's a matter of finding which one is cost effective and provides the services. In the training, one had a lot more follow-up than the other, and coming back to folks that were being trained through the process. And just, if we answer your question, they were a little more in depth in the process of the training as well. But just wanted to make sure you got the information or where we are moving forward with looking at these two And these are the two most prominent ones in the area that are being used. Both of them get good reports from the folks that use them. And it's just a matter of what works best for us and what we're trying to accomplish with that process.
Is the issue or the problem we're trying to solve here that the documents that we get aren't available to the general public, and this will get them that?
I'm sorry.
Some of them, I mean, some of them can't be shared.
Right.
Yes.
But to the extent that they can, so they can understand what we're talking about or referring to.
And we decide which ones would be open to everybody, but it might be a faster and more prominent way to do it. It also would send you a ping every time there's something that's added or adjusted with some of these. There's additional steps. If we add something in, then we can email you. If you add something to make some adjustments, many of them have an automatic email to say there's been an addition to. There are some other components to these that might be helpful for the board and able to. I know that if I email you out a lot of stuff, especially with the EFMP, and I send you 3 emails in a month that says board information on EFMP, unless I put a date or some other descriptor, when you go to try to find it in your email, you only find EFMP and it comes up with 20 or however many. Some of this might allow you, in just reviewing some of this might allow you to store some of that material that's easier for you to retrieve back later or for us to retrieve back later.
So even the documents that cannot be made for public, even those can be uploaded, and we could definitely make them that they're only viewable by the board members or the staff or whoever is in charge.
We have
of them.
control of confidential and open. But
And the other thing is, we should probably check with legal also, right? Like how much for both of them, what steps or what stuff is needed or required, right?
Yeah.
To make sure that when we do switch over, it's we are following all the acts and all the rules that ISB and ISB require us to follow for that.
And one of them has pricing that's been arranged through IASB or ISB, one of the two. So that I know it's been vetted through them. The other one, I still have to do a little work on that to make sure. But we want to make sure that as our agreement with them, they would hold confidential materials and have the digital protections that we would need since it's going into the web. So we still have a little work on that to do. But right now, just looking to make sure the product does what you want. And then we'll give you the options.
Our documents would be stored on their servers, their machines, as opposed to now, which is all on our machines.
Right. It's in the cloud. So that's what I want to do, a little checking on who has access, how it's, the agreement with that organization. It's a third party having access. So those are some of the things. And that happens in many industries in ours. It's just a matter of making sure. Both of these are designed for school systems. Both of these are working in school systems. So I'm sure that they're covering many of those aspects in the upgrade. One of them gave quite a bit of information on some digital security. I'm still reviewing that piece for them, but we'll bring back, like I said, at the next meeting, give you a little more detailed quotes and find out what the next steps would need to be, how long. Most of these are very quick turnaround when you finally decide to do it. It's a matter of training multiple people to have the ability to use it because it is web-based. You're not installing software, you're not installing servers, those types of things. It's usually a fairly quick turnaround, but we want to make sure we train folks right. Okay.
Nick, I'm sorry if I missed it, but was there any kind of even ballpark figure as to how much these systems cost?
It's there in the.
Yeah,
did I miss it?
It's listed in here in the notes for you.
It's in the notes.
I've got it up on my screen. Is
I'm
it the
sorry.
same thing or no?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Right.
I did not
It was
see that.
updated
I
to include
apologize.
that.
Okay,
Got all
carry
the
on.
pricing.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. It's
Jeff, do you have any
I
questions?
got additions.
Hello?
I think we may have lost him. Oh, there
No.
it is.
He doesn't. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the review of the April 5th community meeting that we had. So we had the meeting at Elementary North. We had about 25 people show up. We had Wendy and Abe had done an excellent job of having a lot of babysitters available. Though I don't think we had too many kids, but thank you so much for putting that together so that anybody who had kids could come for that meeting. So we'll go around, discuss what people thought, what people's reviews are, because we have another one coming up on April 17th, which is at Elementary South, sorry. The one on April 17th is at Elementary South. It is again at 7 p.m. That'll be the second one. It is almost, it will have most of the same information because this is still giving out information. It's not a working meeting. So I wanted to know, and let's go. Jason.
Thought it went pretty well. But the information that was presented, we did adjust a little bit from the first one. Thought it was good information, was logical, and it was easy to understand. Sorry, Jeff.
Any feedback that you got personally when we were talking to people? Anything that you would want to kind of tweak for the next one? I mean, we pretty much would give about the same information because that's what we decided to do. So more people could come and watch, and we could, answer. We could answer their questions right away because even when they watch it at home, they can't ask us questions, and we can ask them. So it would be about the same. So did you think anything needed to be changed, tweaked? Any feedback you got towards that respect or anything else?
No.
Your own thoughts?
I'm just looking for more feedback. And I think that's one of the things that, like I said at the meeting, most of the information was coming from us to the public. And then it was coming to them also in terms of answering their questions. We're trying to get more feedback in terms of what should we do, what's valuable to them, what's important, what are the priorities. I haven't gotten there yet, so I don't know how we can get there.
Oh, Robin?
Oh, I forgot you weren't there. I'm like, wait, what about Julie? Okay. I agree. I thought the presentation did a nice job of explaining some of the things that had come back after the first meeting as questions that people had. I didn't get a ton of feedback. I got a little bit of feedback that I think some people think there's a slightly mixed message going on of what is the plan going forward. I think some people think that the plan is to work off of option B, and then community, you would just tell us what part of option B is sticking and what part is falling off, if any. Other people are getting the message that this is, hey, we're starting with a blank slate. This is an idea, but it's a blank slate, and, send us your thoughts. So I think we as a board need to come to some kind of consensus as to what is the type of feedback we want. Are we using option B as a framework moving forward, or is it just that's what was presented last time, in case it gives you any ideas, but totally open to a blank slate? So I think that might be helpful moving forward. But I didn't receive a ton of other feedback.
Wes?
I definitely think that we had a much better presentation. The slides were better. I liked having each school have its own individual slide.
Yeah, that was helpful.
I think the slides that explains what happened, or what happens when the kindergarten center opens.
The backfill slides.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was extremely helpful because even when the kindergarten center opens, we're still going to have space issues. So it will help, but it's not a solution. We have to do more. As far as I agree with Robin. I do think there was. I still think there's a mixed message in the sense of, are we just moving forward with the plan B, or are we doing something else? And so I really think that we need to drive the point home that we as a board are asking the community, what do you want your school district to look like? We're looking to them because ultimately they're the ones that are, going to vote on this and make the decision. So what do we want our schools to look like? And that's why we're having these meetings, to get their feedback, to get, to hear their comments, so that we can, consider every possible option.
Matt?
Similar vein of Robin and Wes. I think the message is a little confused. I think we kind of need to tell them that, because there's confusion on where we're trying to go with this. We're trying to meet all the needs for the future, and I think that's where people are getting kind of fuzzy. Like, I think we need to tell them option B fits all of the needs. And this is where the price point is. If you don't think that price point is acceptable, then we've got to somehow get feedback from them to tell us where the price point is acceptable. That's where I think a lot of the back talk I got from people is they're still confused on, is option B what we're trying to present as the be all end all of that'll fix all the problems. And then the other feedback I keep getting is, I don't want to see the presentation again. They want to get to work, but we don't have anything to show them yet because we're not really getting feedback. So,
Well, Sonali warned that the next one would be the same as
right,
that one.
and that's
so.
when no offense, I kind of cringed when you said that.
But that's the point. I mean, if you want a feedback, you have to show the presentation. I mean, it's you're
Right.
getting into the catch. I mean, there are only 25 people who came, and I have a much larger community that we need to draw in if they want to have
Right.
a conversation with us. So we have to do this again. If we did it one
Right.
time, that wouldn't help. So it's kind of we have got caught. But
Right.
next time is the one that we are doing it, and then that's it. After that, the next one is a working meeting, and that's we're going to prioritize our solution. Whatever the feedback we got, whatever we come up with, we'll have DLR there to help us,
Right.
plan it, phase it, and we'll go from
I
there.
just think we need to hammer home that option B was the one that fixed all of the problems long term, at least for the 10 years that we can kind of extrapolate data and figure it all out. And if that price point was not acceptable, then that's where they need to come back and kind of say, some of this has got to
And we did
go.
say that they could come back with any other new idea, and as long as there were some ideas, and if we had already vetted them, we had an answer for them, because we had Jason there the last time for the first meeting in February. We had Tom McGrath from LAMP, as well as Kristen was there. So we had people there who had worked on this whole thing, and they were the experts who could answer. And if there was an idea that was presented that was not vetted, we could get it vetted. But we haven't heard any idea that was not pre-vetted by the core team as to why it would possibly not work, or what were the drawbacks on that as compared to what was presented. So we have made that clear, but like I said, we'll go back again and we'll do it again and see if we get anything. Otherwise, the 30th is the working meeting. So we just need to come up with plan. Yes, Julie, you were saying something?
Is the new presentation, is that on the website?
It was live, and it's on there right on the day it went.
Oh, not on the day of the event, but is it on there that if somebody wants to go look
Yeah.
at it? Okay,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
checking.
Yeah,
Well, I got it in my email, so I don't.
yeah.
In terms
it
of,
is.
where we're going, is Plan B what we're going with or not? Like Matt said, we're looking for the feedback. Is it too much? What do we want? What are the priorities? Or in addition to that, what alternatives does someone have to solve the problems that we have in front of us? The problem is, if we don't get any feedback, we have to start somewhere. And Plan B is where we're going to start unless we hear otherwise. So it's kind of,
And I
it's
think that
somewhat
might have to be the message we have to send. This is the plan.
This is
Unless you
where we're
guys start giving
starting
us
from,
feedback.
unless you tell us, hey, you got a better idea. You got something that we haven't thought about. You've got.
But I think we made that pretty
something-
clear at that meeting.
Apparently
when
we
said,
didn't.
I think if we said it the way Jason's saying it,
yeah.
Right.
that would be kind of the final call to action.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought we
that's it.
closed with
Here's
that.
our opening bid. We're open to suggestions and to modifications, but if we don't hear anything, then
We're right
gonna
back
start
to where
with
we
this.
were
Right.
last April.
the
And
public
we'll
hears
start with
that.
this. We'll modify and we'll prioritize and we'll plan and we'll come up with, and then we'll figure out what we want to do, because that will be at the working meeting. That's not a discussion for now. I just wanted to know what the feedback was and maybe going from
Yeah.
that. But okay, so that one is on the next meeting is April 17th at Elementary South at 7.
wait, is it Middle South or Elementary South? Elementary South?
Elementary South.
Elementary South is.
Okay, thank you.
If Wendy's telling me that, that's where I'm
I can
going.
read the sign outside. I just, yeah, I got it.
No, I'm going with where Wendy told me to go. Any feedback? Did you get any feedback from, because we had a lot of our teachers and administrators out there, anything that you heard that they told you, anything that?
Yeah, people appreciated the presentation, thought that it was good information, tightened it up a little bit, gave some new, the diagrams, the visuals are all good, that were good there. So I thought that, again, John Langman, thank you for him moderating and giving the teachers point of view on some of the questions. He was kind enough to step in and provide some of that. So we do appreciate that. So there's a teacher's voice there. No, I think people are just looking at trying to get, how do we get the feedback back from the community on what would you adjust or change?
And we've had a couple of gentlemen reach out to us and send us emails and stuff. So, you know, if you can't be there, you see as Julie mentioned, it's online. You know, you see it. If you have a question because you can't come, just please send us an email, you know, to our board emails. We all see it. We all read it. We all respond to it. It's not a back and forth that you can have live, but it is pretty close to it. If you respond back to the email we sent you, we will respond back again. So, you know, you can have a dialogue in that manner too. So if you see the presentation and you have a suggestion or have a comment, please, you know, send us. A few people did, but
We got some good emails.
Yeah,
Those were
excellent.
Those are juicy. I know, like, if we actually put a question on the ballot, there's different rules that apply. But Nick, maybe you know, what, if anything, can the teaching staff do right now to help get a message out to the community? Is there anything they can do, or have we asked them to specifically not? Because I feel like for a lot of people, that's their main connection to the school district, and that's who they would want to support. And really, like I said it the other night, but with an audience of 25, and I don't know how many people watched it, it's, you know, that's their working environment is our children's learning environment. So we need to care about that. Like, they're in a tough situation too.
The union can be a political action group. They can work on things. I will have to double check. We generally have gone by the rules that you cannot do anything to support a referendum with on school property with school materials and things, even prior to the referendum.
Okay.
You can answer questions and stuff, but I will verify that and just see, and then if there's some more that they possibly can do prior to. Most of the teachers that I've talked to, and I get a lot of information through John Langman that way, are supportive of the need. They definitely see the need.
Oh yeah, I know that.
You know, and
sure.
and I think they're trying to be supportive of that and respectful of the rules and the laws that are out there. But let me double check on what they can do right now, since there's not an official question.
Right.
It's not really campaigning, it's informing.
Right.
So I'll double check.
And do you have any information for us as board members? You know, what we can and obviously can't do, but then also, you know, at what point, I guess, or at any point, you know, can we do things as private citizens and not on behalf of the board?
You can operate as a private citizen in support of a referendum question, a campaigning question. You can't as a board. You can't use your school email address. You can't do it here. Can't do it on campus. But as a private citizen, you're just like any other mom or dad or community member. You have the ability and the right to participate.
Okay, so it's similar to, you know, a government employee not doing things on government time, et cetera.
Right.
Okay.
You just want to be very, you know, clear. So if somebody emails you a question or emails you and wants you to support, and it's on your school email, you would have to respond, I cannot participate in a political action on this.
Sure.
But you can go home and get on your own email and say, I saw your question.
Right.
Well, like, I would just caution, though, just be super careful, because no matter how many times you say this is my own opinion and I'm not speaking as a board member, most people just can't distinguish.
No.
It's unfortunate, and I somewhat feel like I don't get to have my own voice in the entire matter. But, you know, when it came up last time, whatever group of parents were supportive of the referendum said, hey, can I put a sign in your yard? I'm like, yep, and that's about all I'll do, because I can't do too much else other than if somebody asked me how I was voting, I was willing to share that opinion. But, like, I would just caution and be really careful of what you say. I don't think most people end up distinguishing between what you've said as a board member and what you've said as a person.
I have a 1 or 2 pager that we provided the board members last time. I'll find that and send it out to you so you can review it. And then if there are any specific questions, it's best, as Robin says, to err on the side of safety so you don't end up with a complaint or something down
Well,
the
I'm
road.
not necessarily like talking about just, I wouldn't say anything, as a board member. I'm just talking about, can I go help put, yard signs in people's yard,
Right, you can
be
walk
a
around
volunteer
right,
working.
right. You can walk around and hang up door hangers.
Okay.
And you can do that during the day. I cannot as an employee. So, yeah. But we'll give you the information, and then, yes, you could volunteer to do some of those things.
That is the conclusion of the committee of the whole, the business meeting. Anybody from the public wishes to comment? No, the consent agenda includes the minutes from the March 12th, expenditure report from March 26th, and personnel resignations. Any discussion? Anybody has anything they want to say? Discussions?
Can I say something? Or you
Sure.
want to wait until after?
Yes, after.
Hmm?
After.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion by Julie, seconded by Wes. Could I have a roll call, please?
Jason Tron.
Aye.
Julie Simpson.
Aye.
Jeff Bard. Robin Cleek.
Aye.
Wes Pullen, aye. Matt Jacobs.
Aye.
Sonali Patel.
Aye. Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays. Now you can.
Now I can say it. Lisa. Thank you for everything that you have done for the students here. It's my 6 years here. Thank you for being my right hand, my right arm, helping me with everything we do. This is a tough one, but thank you. We wish you well in your next endeavor, and congratulations. You're just a phenomenal educator, phenomenal leader, phenomenal partner. We've talked about how we're partners in leading this district. So from the bottom of my heart, I really thank you for everything you've done for the children in this community and how you've improved their lives every day. And I'm very, very jealous of the next district of 478 students in one building because they stole you, actually. But thank you. You cannot imagine how much you mean to the students and how much I respect and appreciate everything you have done in helping me in my 6 years here with all the work and curriculum and leadership. So thank you.
Congratulations and good luck.
Yes, good luck.
I'd like to congratulate you. I'm not happy to see you go. This is.
Is it professional stick my tongue out at her?
It's not very. But thank you for everything that you did. You had us going and, with a lot of changes that have been there in the curriculum. And on a personal level, my kids are 4 years apart, and it takes a while for a ship to turn. And this is a big one of 4,400 kids, so it takes a long time for it to turn. But I've seen the difference between what my older one, who is now in high school, did and what my younger one is doing, who is now at Middle North. And it is amazing what we have gotten, how much we've moved the needle. And, there's some things that now you're a community member, so I'm expecting you to be here for public comment every time.
That would be funny.
But, you'll be here to see, how things are turning, but, all the new initiatives that you had, LEAP especially being one of them, and it's going great. I mean, we have, our teachers are excited. We are excited of one-to-one technology, all of it. But thank you so much for doing it. And you're always welcome to come as a expert public person and give your comments to of what we could do better. And we always welcome you to help us. And thank you so much. And we'll be sad to see you go. But good luck. And I'll see you now I can see you everywhere. Because you'll have time. You can get out at a certain time. Thank you. We don't have anything. I have a precedence report. Again, I would like to, before I get into certain things, we have 8th grade graduation on 29th of May, and it's we have it in 2 parts for the people who haven't been there. 6 o'clock is one of the middle schools, and 8 o'clock is the other middle school. South. What time is South?
6.
6. See, she's happy. She gets So 6 o'clock is middle South, 8 o'clock is middle North, and normally one of the board members does give a few words at the promotion ceremony. So I'm looking for volunteers. It's normally just one board member who gives it. So one for the middle North, one for the middle South. So I'm looking for volunteers. It's normally 2 to 3 minutes that you have to give as a promotion speech to the students, the teachers, the parents, everybody. It's normally held at it's at the Vernon Hills High School. They can still accommodate us, right? So
May 9th.
May
29th.
29th. Wow.
Yeah, it's so
That question counts as
6
volunteer.
p.m.
Thank you very much.
I could probably volunteer for one of them.
okay. Which one do you want?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Middle South? Okay.
To speak, you realize that's what you're signing up for.
You
This is
speak.
not just to
So that's a
attend.
promotion ceremony.
Okay.
We all are there, so you'll
Good.
say the few words. Okay.
It's fine.
Thank you.
So Julie for Middle South. Do I have a Middle North? Going one.
You know, I'm not volunteering to public speak.
No,
Publicly
but
speak.
come on.
Oh,
It's
it's
3
easy.
years. You've not done it. You can't do it.
Oh, did you notice that?
Of course
That
I
was by design, Lovey.
did.
Ah,
Come on.
okay.
And it's
Okay.
1 year. It's
I'm only going to do it because next year, if I am on the board again, I will not embarrass my own child by doing it at his address. But at his
no, see,
graduation,
that's the thing. It's like you don't have to.
Oh, that's
I'll embarrass him for other reasons, but I won't give the address at his own promotion
Okay,
ceremony.
so Robin for Middle North.
So I can embarrass him?
Yes, you totally can.
Okay, Julie is for Middle South. Robin
I
is
cannot
for
believe
Middle
I
North.
just signed up for that. I'm not going to sleep now for like 6 weeks. Thank you very much.
Google's your friend.
Glad to help.
What?
A lot of good YouTube
Fourscore in
videos.
7 years.
I won't be plagiarizing anybody, but
I was just going to say exactly what Robin writes.
Didn't we just read a copyright policy somewhere? Come on, guys. I'd like to congratulate Tommy Deason from Middle South for writing an argumentative essay for Bill of Rights Institute's We the Students Essay Contest. So I'm really proud of him. And I'd like to congratulate also Rishi Ramaya from Middle North. He goes to state for the geography bee. So
wow.
congratulations to both the students.
All right, to everybody.
Okay. The Science Olympiad team at Middle North heads to the state next weekend at University of Illinois. And I would like to thank Miss Cindy Freeman, who is our parent volunteer, who is our Science Olympiad coach, for managing the students and doing a phenomenal job with them. And the patience it's literally herding cats if you've ever gone to that, but she does a great job out there with all of them.
Really smart cats.
But they're smart cats, but they're cats. The boys bowling team finished in the second place at the IESA sectionals tournament this past weekend. Joseph N. and Juan K. finished third and fourth place respectively. Emily S. and Jacqueline P. qualified for the girls team. The state tournament will be held next weekend in Joliet. And there are a lot of open houses coming up, and this is for the board. So this is not my report, but this is, since I'm talking. There are a lot of open houses coming up. So if I know a lot of us already have kids, so we'll be there. But if there are any that you can go to, if there's an opening in your calendar to go and see the kids, just let me know. Kind of, they're all sprinkled around somewhere, more towards May, but just to be there. Okay. Any other things? Superintendent.
Couple of highlights here. On the 10th of April, we have our bilingual ELL parent education event. The theme is how to avoid school failure, and it is at 7 o'clock at the School of Dual Language. On April 13th, Elementary South Family Dance Night. Go see Dr. Martin.
What was that?
Dancing Way. Family Dance Night.
There you go.
It is from 6 to 7:30. On the 13th, Aspen has family night from 6:30 to 8. On the 17th, we do have the Board of Education Community Engagement Meeting in Elementary South at 7, previously mentioned. On the 18th of April, Middle North, incoming 6th grade parent orientation, parents only, Middle School North cafeteria 6:30. On the 19th, we do have an early release day. And on the 19th, we have Middle School South's incoming 6th grade parent orientation at 6 o'clock, parents only. And on the 20th of April is the PTO Family Fitness Fun, Town Line Gyms, 6:30 to 7:30. And we thank everybody for all their support to make those things happen.
We have to go into a closed session. So how do I do this?
Or you wanted to go back into closed?
Yes, I want to go back into closed.
Somebody has to make a motion to go into closed session,
Yeah.
but we have to
right?
leave the open one open right now.
Yeah, okay. So do I have a motion to go into closed, please?
I move the Board of Education go into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. 5 ILCS 120-2 C1 as amended by PA 930057.
On the next one.
The second one.
And collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning their salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. 5 ILCS 120-2 C2.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion by Julie, seconded by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
You have to roll call to go in.
Oh, sorry, roll call.
Jason Tron,
Aye.
Julie Simpson,
Aye.
Jeff Bard,